All right, we are 5-0 in our last five $1.99 daily best plays on brockpage.com. And the link for that package is in the description section below. It's only going to cost you just $1.99. $1,000 bettors are up over $4,500 during that span. We currently have over 800 members who are signed up and active on my website right now. And as always, guys, all the picks that I give out on brockpage.com, they're my personal bets, games that I personally have action on. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into some free NBA content. We're going to start with the Spurs taking on the Cavaliers, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. The weekend is right around the corner. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are minus 6.5 with the total at 219. But despite possibly going to work here tonight without their leading scorer, the Cavs have been more dominant on the defensive end of the court more than anything. As a matter of fact, the Cavs allow only 99 points a game at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. They're also limiting their competition to just 31% shooting from three-land there. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, Jared Allen, he's averaging over 16 points a game, along with 11 rebounds. Meanwhile, Evan Mobley, he's dropping 14 points a night himself, along with 8 rebounds and a couple assists. And speaking of rebounds, Cleveland currently finds themselves in the top 10 in the NBA in offensive boards per game. Now, they're taking on a San Antonio team who lost 6 out of their last 9 themselves, and they're winning only 36% of their road games this year. Now, the Spurs have been getting pretty much out-rebounded defensively away from home this year. San Antonio is currently in the bottom 3 in the league in defensive boards per contest on the road. Now, the Spurs have also given up their fair share of points this season as well. They're actually in the bottom 10 in points allowed per contest. Now, injury-wise, when it comes to the injury report, Walker, Jones, and Landale, they are all listed as questionable for the Spurs. Meanwhile, Markkanen's still out for Cleveland. Garland is questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, Cleveland's 19-7 to the under at home this year. Meanwhile, the Spurs went 16-9 to the under in their travels themselves. I'm going to lean toward Cleveland minus 6.5 in the under 219. Next matchup, it is going to be Bulls versus the Hornets. And that's going to be a 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Chicago is minus 3 with a total at 234.5. Now, Chicago did lose 3 out of their last 4, and they gave up a whole bunch of points in the process. As a matter of fact, the Bulls allowed 122 points a game during that span I just mentioned. And when it comes to defensive play, well, the Bulls actually find themselves in the bottom 3 in the league in defending the 3-ball. They're taking on a Charlotte team who's in the top 10 in shooting from three-land themselves, and they're also amongst the league leaders in scoring on average per game. Miles Bridges is dropping just about 20 points a game, along with 7 boards and 3 assists. Meanwhile, LaMelo Ball, he's scoring 19.5 points per contest himself, along with 7 boards and 7 assists as well. Now, when it comes to the injury report in this one, Hayward, Martin, and McDaniels, they are all out. Meanwhile, Bouknight, he's been listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for Chicago, on the other side of things, Ayo Dosunmu, he's listed as questionable. He's out. Ayo Dosunmu is out for them. Now, total-wise, the Bulls saw their last 7 straight all get over the posted number. Meanwhile, Charlotte saw overs recently with the likes of the Lakers, Pacers, and the Raptors themselves. I'm going to lean towards Charlotte plus 3 and the over 234.5. All right, next matchup. It is going to be Raptors versus the Thunder, and that's going to be an 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Toronto's minus 9.5 with the total at 207. And although Toronto's favored by nearly double digits on the road here, they've actually been a little bit lackluster on the offensive end of the court this season. I get it. I know they're red hot right now, but the Raptors do find themselves in the bottom 5 in the league in shooting from the field. And out of Toronto's last 7 ball games, they've beaten their opponents by double digits only once. So I'm not concerned about Toronto winning the game. I'm just concerned that this number is a little bit high. they don't really decimate teams, especially recently. Like I said, they only had one double-digit win in their last 7 ball games. Now they're taking on an OKC team who covered the point spread in 4 out of their last 5 themselves, and those were covers against the likes of Golden State, Portland, and Dallas during that span. As a matter of fact, OKC covered the number in 6 out of their last 8 as well, and they held their opponents to just 103 points a game during that span. Now, scoring-wise, Lou Dort is averaging 17 points a game along with 4 rebounds. Meanwhile, Josh Giddey, he's averaging over 12 points a game himself, along with 7 boards and 6 assists as well. Giddey's actually in the top 20 in the league in assists. And speaking of all offensive production, well, believe it or not, OKC finds themselves in the top 10 in offensive rebounding per contest, despite their scoring woes this year. Now, injury-wise, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's still out indefinitely for the Thunder. Meanwhile, Roby, Muscala, Wiggins, and Robinson Earl, they are still out as well. Meanwhile, for Toronto on the other side, they're mostly healthy for the exception of Goran Dragic still. When it comes to the total in this one, Toronto saw unders recently with Charlotte and Washington. Meanwhile, OKC on the other side, they went 70% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward OKC plus 9.5 and the under 207. All right, next ball game, it is going to be Warriors versus the Jazz, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Utah is -2 with the total at 220.5. And as bad as the Jazz have been here lately, they are on a 3-game winning streak, and they're still leading the NBA in scoring on average per game. Donovan Mitchell, he's scoring over 25.5 points per contest, along with 4 boards and 5 assists. Meanwhile, Bojan Bogdanovic is scoring 17 points a game himself, along with 4 rebounds. And speaking of boards, well, the Jazz are in the top 5 in the NBA in defensive rebounding per contest. They're taking on a Golden State team who's actually been red hot recently themselves, but they did fail to cover the point spread in their last 2 straight. And as a matter of fact, believe it or not, the Warriors actually have a losing record against the point spread on the road this year. And they've actually struggled to score points early in games away from home. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Iguodala, Thompson, and Green, they are out. Looney is also listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for the Jazz on the other side of things, Gobert is still out. Gay is questionable. When it comes to the number, the Warriors saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the posted total. They're also 80% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Utah, so if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, the Jazz on the other side of things, they saw overs recently with Minnesota and Memphis. I'm going to lean toward Utah -2 in the over 220.5. All right, next ball game, it is going to be Lakers versus the Blazers, 10 p.m. Eastern tip-off. LA's -8.5 with the total at 223. And as bad as the Lakers have been, well, the entire Portland organization, they got a facelift. And there's going to be a lot of new faces on the court wearing the red and black. Satoransky, Hart, Alexander Walker, and Silva, they are newly acquired from New Orleans. Meanwhile, Bledsoe and Johnson, they are questionable. Lillard still out. Now, most of the trends that I typically go through, well, at least for Portland, they're pretty much useless here today since it's a completely different team right now. But I do have to say that it's probably going to be tough for Portland to hang with Los Angeles, with those new faces in a new town on such short notice. Literally happened like overnight. Now, the Lakers on the other side, they've done a pretty nice job offensively on the road this season. As a matter of fact, these guys are in the top 10 in the NBA in road scoring. Now, LeBron James, he's averaging 29 points a game along with 7 rebounds and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis, he's scoring 23 points a game himself along with double-digit rebounds. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, the Lakers are actually in the top 10 in guarding the 3-ball away from home. So although, defensive play really hasn't been like the cornerstone of this club, these guys are doing a good job defending the 3-ball when they travel. Now, injury-wise, Anthony and Nunn are still out indefinitely. Howard is questionable. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Lakers saw their last 3 straight get over the line, 70% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the LA Lakers minus 8.5 and the over 223. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Timberwolves versus the Kings, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Minnesota's minus 9 with a total at 235. Now, the T-Wolves are on a 5-game winning streak right now, and they successfully cover the point spread in all of those victories. The T-Wolves also score more points per contest on the road than any other team in the NBA. Karl-Anthony Towns averages 24 points a game, along with 9 boards and 3 assists. Now, Towns is also drilling 41% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards, he's scoring 21 points a night himself, along with 4 boards and 3 assists. And no surprise here, Minnesota currently leads the entire association in first quarter scoring as well. Now they're taking on a new look Sacramento team who just acquired Jeremy Lamb, Drew Holiday, and Domantas Sabonis from Indiana. Meanwhile, Mo Harkless and Marvin Bagley, they are also questionable here today for the Kings. And, well, needless to say, these newly acquired players from the Pacers, they actually didn't fare all too well in Indiana this season as well. So I'm not real confident they're going to turn things around here, with the new scenery. Total-wise, we've seen a good amount of overs here for Minnesota recently. As a matter of fact, these guys went 80% to the over in their last 10 ball games. Now, when they play on the road, they're also 21-7 to the over when they travel. So plenty of overs to go around with Minnesota. I'm going to lean toward the T-Wolves minus 9 and the over 235. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are currently 5-0 in our last $5.99 daily best plays. I like Cleveland minus 6.5 under 219. Give me Charlotte plus 3 over 234.5. I like OKC plus 9.5 under 207. Utah Jazz minus 2 over 220.5. LA Lakers minus 8.5 over 223. With my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Minnesota minus 9 in the over 235. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single pick that I give out on that website, you're going to want to sign up for my board member tier package. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.